Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the MFC Approach podcast. Once again, I'm your host, Luke Mattson, and I have KyLee Miranda here once again.
Yes.
It's our monthly reconnect and chat. So anyways, it's been good so far, and look forward to just continuing the conversation now that the mic is recording. But yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for the support. Ask you to, if this podcast has impacted you in any way, I just ask you to share it with others, like it, leave a review. It would be greatly appreciated. That is truly how other people find this content, is by you liking it, reviewing it, sharing it. And so please do so if you find any value at all in the conversations we have here and in the conversation that KyLee and I are going to have today. So, KyLee, what's going on?
Well, we just got back from a trip to Australia and New Zealand.
Got back from down under.
Down under. It was just such a neat experience. Definitely love different cultures. And, the Australian accent's always fire, so that was fun to hear all day long.
So Australia and New Zealand, you were there how long?
A total of 20 days, but 3 days were travel days.
Yeah, gotcha.
And the travel down there is a little long. Yeah.
So you got to make it worth your time if you're going to go.
Yeah.
So between the two, where would you recommend people go?
Ooh, it depends. If you're more of I guess they're both different.
Yeah.
Australia is more, depends on where you go, more like bush and more dangerous animals and insects and reptiles. And New Zealand's very much safer in that department. Like, there's only birds, they have possums, and I think rats, and that's about it. But in Australia, there's tons of different things that could get you.
Gotcha.
So, but Australia is definitely more green and
I'll be going to New Zealand. I will not be going to Australia then. You just sold me on it. That alone, I was like...
Just go more south.
Gotcha.
Don't go to Queensland, northern Queensland. That's where, I don't know if you ever watched like Crocodile Dundee or like the venomous snakes and huge spiders and crocodiles. That's all way up north. But,
no, thank you. I'll just go to New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand's a good bet. I wish we were able to go longer.
Really?
There's the northern part of the islands, and there's the south island.
Okay.
And, north, like tip to tip on the North Island, it's, probably 14 hours of a drive. And so it's like, you need some real time to really dive into all the beauty that you can see there. So That's my suggestion. I've heard people like to do RVs and just kind of like camp along the way, top to bottom. So.
Gotcha. So the islands are not connected.
I don't.
Or is it?
So they might be.
Okay. I was just looking at a map, kind of trying to determine. Anyways, looking at a map, I'm not seeing anything, but that's what I was curious about, if they actually connected or not. So you guys were on the North Island most of the time?
The whole time.
The whole time. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Auckland.
Awesome. That sounds like a blast.
It was a lot of fun. How about you?
Oh, man. So good. Yeah. Didn't quite make it to New Zealand, but this last weekend, went up to Idaho.
Yeah.
Back to my hometown of Preston. Rodeo weekend. It's a big deal. You know what? And I'm not sure why, but I freaking love it. It's so much fun.
It's probably nostalgic.
It is. It is. Like growing up as a kid, like going to the carnival, going to the rodeo, going to the parade. It's just, it's a blast. And it's 3 or 4 days long. And it really is like the whole town just kind of comes together. And so it's fun. It's definitely a small town. Yeah. Roughly 6,000 people. And so it's like really small community, but I mean, people from all over come, which is fun. But apparently I missed Napoleon Dynamite days the week before.
Oh, for real? That's a thing?
It was like a huge thing for a long time, like right after the movie came out.
Yeah.
And then it just stopped for a while. I think it kind of lost its charm on people.
I started following him on Instagram.
Who? John, the actor?
The actor.
John Heder. John Heder. I'm not sure how you say his name.
He just references remember that one time when I was a really cool actor in Napoleon Dynamite, and that's literally all his reels.
It's like the pinnacle.
Yeah.
I love it.
He owns it though.
I love it. Yeah, so anyways, went back to Preston. It was fun. A lot of family time and stuff, but
were you able to stick to a regimen of any kind?
You know what? I think I'm gonna be pretty honest with you. I got a little lax. Mm-hmm. I got a little lax. I want to say mostly on purpose, but I will say there were definitely times where I kind of reflected and I was like, okay, that was probably a little too much. Mm-hmm. Like the day my sister made cinnamon rolls. Like, I had a cinnamon roll for breakfast, and I was like, "Oh man, that was so good." Had eggs with it and stuff. Like, it was a great meal.
Protein.
Yeah. However, there was a pan of cinnamon rolls left, and it just sat on the counter all day long. And every time I walked by, I had some. Yes, that's exactly. It sounded exactly like that. So, anyways, it's like little things like that. Being at my mom and dad's definitely is a challenge. Because there's just always good food. There's always good food. My mom feels like she has to cook for every meal, and I'm just like, Mom.
The love language of mothers.
I love you, but
most mothers.
Yep, for real.
I feed you.
Which is great. Anyways, yeah, it was fun. It was good. Definitely got a little lax with the food, but we're back.
Did you train at all, or did you just take some time off?
Did. You know what? I trained, as well as I trained a few group strength classes.
No way.
Yeah, so rodeo weekend.
Yeah.
Like a month ago, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna reach out to the owner of the gym that I go to when I'm up in Preston and just see if he would be open to it. And he was more than happy. He was like, please, dude, that would be so amazing. Aww. So Thursday, Friday, Saturday morning last week, had a group of, anywhere from 4 to 6 people each morning. The gym isn't really built to handle more than that. Yeah. Like, honestly, a group session of 4 people was kind of crowding the gym a little bit, especially with all the other people that were there working out. But had a blast. It was fun. And then also, I did. I'm the type of person, KyLee, and I'm curious how you are. When I go on vacation, there's nothing more that I love doing than just getting a solid workout in. Because most of the time, too, it's like you're at a different gym. Yeah. For whatever reason, that brings like an elevated, just like, excitement. Yeah. And new equipment. Sometimes new equipment to try out. Yeah. Like this last week when I was in Preston, normally I belt squat for one of my lower days. Mm-hmm. There's not a belt squat machine at the gym in Preston, Fit Factory, but they have a hack squat machine. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to switch that out for that. And the hack squat was freaking awesome.
Humbling.
Yes, it was, but it was so freaking cool. Me and my brother and one of my nephews, we did a hack squat, leg extension, leg curl. That was it. That's all we did. But we just pushed the intensity so hard.
Awesome.
My nephew puked afterwards, which I loved. I loved it so much.
He's inside us as personal trainers that when we puke, we're like,
did my job.
It's not the goal, but it definitely makes us feel good about ourselves.
Well, it's funny because I told him after he puked, I was like, you know what, Clayton, he's probably listening. Shout out Clayton. It was funny because normally with anybody else, I probably would have said like, hey, just don't kill yourself. Take it easy. I knew he hadn't really been working out consistently and stuff. So I was like, hey, be smart. But no, with Clayton, I was like, oh yeah, we're going to freaking go hard and I'm going to make him miserable. And we did. We got him. So anyways, I'm curious though. I mean, you were in New Zealand. Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to hear, how structured did you stay? Also, are you the type of person, like, do you like getting in good workouts while you travel, or do you like taking a break?
So I love to get workouts in while I'm on vacation. I'm the same way. It's like kind of like a Disneyland for me. We find a new gym, we usually like a bodybuilding gym because it's got a lot of unique equipment.
I was going to say, you guys found some sweet gyms. Yeah, I saw like on your stories and posts. Yeah, I'm sure it's in both places, but.
Yeah, it was so cool. Yeah, so honestly, that's one of the first things that we look at besides, what are we going to do in this location? What gyms are by us and what are we going to visit?
Because you guys walk into the gym too, and you two are like, you're the strongest female, and Josue is the strongest dude, no doubt about it.
It is my favorite thing to watch him bench in other states or where we're at because he's got so many gawking men
heads turning
at him. Like, Ah, dang, bro.
Yeah.
4 plates? That's sick. And so I will always secretly like record people
I
like
love it.
watching him, and it's so fun because Jose's such a gentle giant, so great at connecting with people that he makes friends immediately when they come over and start chatting with them. So yeah, I look for places most of the time. I try to exercise a minimum of 3 times a week if I can, just because it makes me happy.
Yeah.
We were traveling with another family, and so schedules, it makes it a little bit harder to get to places, especially since we're all driving together, or we have to leave early to go do different things, drive here to there. And so it definitely makes it more challenging, but there was a part in the trip, I think it was near the beginning, where I didn't have access to the gym, and we had to leave really early most mornings. Luckily, the jet lag had me waking up at like 4 o'clock, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And so I was like, cool. So I can kind of get a head start. My body's already naturally waking up. All right, I guess I'm doing a bathroom workout because I feel out of place not getting my exercise in. I don't feel good. We're just eating and sitting all day. So I was like, it's up to me. If I want to get movement in, I'm going to have to figure it out. So it was a bathroom workout. Some days there was one place where that had a big garage where I just kind of got my heart rate up for 20, 30 minutes, stretch, lifted what I could, push-ups, a lot of like burpee type stuff, squats. So you just kind of have to, if it's important to you and if it makes you feel good, like figure out some way to move your body.
Right.
And that's what I did.
I love it. And by the way, that literally was a bathroom workout.
Literally.
Like literally. Is that in a reel or was that a story?
That was for reals.
On Instagram. Yeah. So you guys go check that out, seriously, because it was a real thing. I remember seeing that. I was like, KyLee, just getting after it.
I was so pissed at myself because I was like, I feel like so sluggish. I don't like how my body's looking. Like, I just want to feel good about myself. And like, I just feel better when I exercise.
Isn't it funny how little it takes too?
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to go to the gym and bench and squat and deadlift and hack squat and all that stuff. It's like, just move. Yes. Like, literally just move. So whenever I have clients go on vacation, that's kind of like a conversation we have prior to them leaving is, what is your game plan?
Yeah.
Because more than anything, it's just have a game plan. Like literally, I don't care if you don't lift.
Yeah.
Like I really don't. I will probably encourage you to move.
Yeah.
Like try to do things each morning. If you're in Mexico on the beach, go for a walk on the beach for 15, 20 minutes, But if you are somebody who likes to lift, then make a plan, look ahead of time. A lot of men that I train who go on business trips, it's like, hotel gym's crap. And I'm like, well, what else is around? If you really want to get your workout in, like what other options do you have? Because guarantee you there's a gym within 5-10 minutes of your hotel that you could easily go get a day pass at and get the workout in that you want.
If you want it bad enough, you'll figure it out.
Exactly.
Like, I've traveled on prep. Like, I wanted it.
That sounds brutal.
But I wanted to travel too, so you just have to figure it out.
And you did it. So that's awesome. I love that. I'm curious, like, is it similar with your clients? I mean, is that how you approach it with them as well?
That's usually what I bring up. I say, okay, so how long you gone for? What's kind of your intention with movements? I kind of try and give them a few tips and tricks in regards to like nutrition, because usually we're eating out a lot more, either a lot more family time or different things like that. So I'm just really encourage them to focus on building their meals with their protein, getting your water in, fiber, vegetables, try and keep some regulation with your macronutrients, and just be present, because a lot of the times people are overstressed and really, really need some decompression from life.
Yep.
And so just being mindful and having a plan, just like you said.
Cool. So, I mean, as far as that goes, that's kind of one of the things I kind of wanted to touch on. So, I mean, with traveling on vacation and stuff, guys, it's so important to realize if you're gone for a week, you're not going to lose muscle.
Exactly.
Like, you're not going to put on 10 pounds of fat. Like, no matter
Probably
what.
water.
Most likely, yeah, water. That's not to say you won't put on some weight, but also that's the other thing too, when it does come to the nutrition side of things in travel. Some clients like to track and some don't. And I don't care either way. But more than anything, it's like, this is an opportunity, right, for us to listen to your body. What is your body telling you after you eat a meal? And at the end of the day, do you feel like you overdid it? Do you feel like you're comfortable, content? Because chances are, if you feel that way, then you probably got pretty dang close to your calorie goal.
Yeah.
So anything around nutrition that you would normally talk about with clients and stuff? I know we kind of briefly touched on that, but just I want to kind of focus on all the different aspects of travel, because when we're home, it's so easy to stay structured, right?
Super easy.
But so, I mean, there's like the fitness side of things, which we already talked about, nutrition side of things, which I kind of touched on. I'm curious, what do you say to your clients?
So just kind of depending on their situation, whether it's like they've got an Airbnb or they're in a hotel, same with family. If I have them working through macros, it honestly depends on the person and what their life looks like. If it's somebody that I know already naturally has a lot of discipline, I really try to encourage them to unplug, but have those basic foundations of lead with protein, get your vegetables, fiber, water, and movement. I just say keep it very basic. I really want your body to kind of have like a deload for a week. Yeah. You need a break. You can't, you can push, but sometimes your body responds really well when you give it a week.
Right. You come back stronger.
You do. Like when I was on my trip, I didn't do a ton of heavy lifting. My joints were so happy. Like my hips, my knees, like I was like, oh wow, I feel new.
Yeah.
And so sometimes our body does need a little bit of a break. So
I love that. I love that you brought that up, because that is I'm curious. I train mostly men. We've kind of talked about this before, and you train a bit of both. Probably more women, or
yes, definitely more women.
Do you find that the mentality of women is to always push hard, I'm just curious what you've experienced, or do women struggle, to push hard? Like, is that the battle to try and help them push harder? Because with guys, like, I'll just say, I feel like guys, the initial reaction for dudes is to just kill themselves.
Yeah.
And it's like, bro, we gotta, like, I love like the effort.
Like you just want to grind and just kill it.
But guys, like, this is like the one thing I always say is it's like, you're not going to change things in a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, sometimes even a year, like depending on where you're at.
And what your intensity level is. Consistency level.
Yeah. Both. I would say intensity and consistency, right? Yeah. But it's like, what have you done? Like, what's the lifestyle you've lived up to this point?
What are you willing to change?
Yeah. And how long are you willing to change it for?
Yeah.
Because that's just the thing, is it's like, people come, I've had conversations with people, it's like, in 3 months I want 6-pack abs. And I'm like, not going to happen. Like, sorry to burst your bubble. Like, that's just not going to happen. It's like, you just told me.
If you want to do just like 70-80% intensity, then
exactly.
It's not really going to.
It's like, you just told me that 10 years ago you fell off the wagon. It's like, you've been living this way for a decade. It's like, you're not going to change that decade in a matter of 3 months. And so the only reason I'm bringing this up, like, I'm not bringing this up to belittle people, but it's like, you have to be real. You have to be realistic about this process and stuff. And so with guys, it's like, they come in and it's like, oh man, I'm just going to bust it for 6 months. And I'm going to be totally transformed. And it's like, the number of dudes and people that happens for, very, very few.
Very, very few.
Very few, if any. Like, I don't know. I have one client right now that I'm thinking of.
For a healthy change.
Yeah.
Anyways,
yeah. So anyways, I'm curious, with women, what do you find?
There are the select few that know how to push themselves, but most of the time, women don't really know what they're capable of. And so honestly, that is one of my most favorite things, is to take them through, obviously safely, going over form and, you know, injuries, history, different things like that. I love to push them.
That's awesome.
I love to push some serious weight and shock the crap out of them and be like, oh, you were only lifting 5s? Whew, girl, we're going to jump here. And just to a few tweaks with form, and they're lifting 3 or 4 times more than they were those last session.
Yeah.
Like, it is so neat to see that transformation, but more than not, most women, they're not able to push themselves as hard as they are actually capable of. And I'm guilty of it too. And luckily I've had friends and fellow training people and coaches help me break through that ceiling and see that ability.
Well, I think I might kind of push into a new topic here, going away from, travel and stuff a little bit, but it's like, working with a coach at every, at every stage of my fitness and like my health journey.
Yeah.
I've hired, I'm trying to think, 4 coaches now over the last 12 years. And I haven't always had a coach, it's not like I've had one of those 4 coaches for the past 12 years, but every single time I get a coach, things change drastically for me. Like, I'm so much more consistent. I'm so much more focused. I'm so much more intentional. And this last coach that I've worked with, Jeff Hain, like, my intensity levels in the gym have gone through the roof. Like,
that's so cool.
And it's just a simple thing from focusing on just hitting a certain number of reps to like focusing on something outside of that, like reps in reserve. So I'm not sure if you're like ever
Explain that a little bit.
So reps in reserve simply means like you go until you literally think you maybe have 1 more rep left that you could do, and then you stop. And so like a 0 RIR or 0 reps in reserve means you go to failure. Okay. Every now and then there will be a lift where I actually do go to failure. Most of the time it's in like the 1 to 3 range, just depending on the lift and the intention. But there still is like a set range that we focus on. But it's like, if I get to the top of that set range, like 8 to 12 reps, if I'm whatever, we'll say doing lateral raises and I get to 12, but I still feel like I have 5 reps left in reserve, then it's like, I'm going to do 4 more, and never before in all of my lifting career, I was going to say career. I don't know if that's the right word. It's probably not a career, but that's my time lifting weights. Seriously. I've never felt like I've gotten more out of my lifts than I am right now. And so
that's a good perspective on how to look at your intensity.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to explain that to people. Because most of the time I'll be like, okay, our rep range goal is, 12 to 15. If you're getting to 15 really easy, then we need to up the weight. Right? So that concept of, reps in reserve is a good, different viewpoint of what I can do.
Right, because that's exactly how I've always viewed it, and that's how I've always programmed for people too.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're going to hit this rep range, okay? Once you get to the top of that rep range, then let's up the weight.
Yeah.
But for some reason, like having that thought in my mind of like, okay, we're going to freaking push. Like I see the reps, I'm acknowledging the reps, but I'm going until I have 1 left. That's like, so cool. Doesn't even matter. I probably don't even need to count the reps. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Obviously I do to kind of help keep me on track, but it's like, So, I mean, there's different ways of doing that. I mean, I've used RPE, rate of perceived exertion. That one it also works. I don't feel like it's as easy to understand as just like RIR, where it's like, go until you have 1 left,
Yeah.
But also, just setting reps and stuff. Since working with Jeff, like I actually have been programming for my clients now, RIR. Yeah. Like I want them to get the benefits that I'm getting from the RIR. And so, going back to like just the whole idea of having a coach, like it's not just for beginners. It's not just for, people who maybe aren't as educated on fitness or nutrition as they could be. It's like it literally benefits every single person. So yeah, I'm curious, like how many coaches have you had in your lifting career? Yours is probably more of a career, KyLee.
No.
So you actually compete and stuff.
No, I would just say it's a passion, hobby, Definitely, we call it career, but like, I don't know. I would say, college sports, does that count?
Yeah, absolutely.
I had a coach that, my first 2 years at CSI, she was a heavy CrossFitter. And so I really fell in love with the style of CrossFit. I came back home in the summertime and I continued to find like a CrossFit gym and really loved that a lot. Awesome. It definitely helped me push some serious intensity, like in regards to like endurance and just like, it's just such a rush. CrossFit is super fun, but it can be really hard on your body. So from there, that's when I kind of felt a lot of my injuries just from, overuse with softball. And so I was like, what sport can I do that I can still push myself and push my limits without really like hurting my body? Yeah. And bodybuilding was what I chose. And it still can hurt. You can hurt whatever. Right. We're all going to hurt. But it was a controlled movement. I didn't have to worry about like blowing a knee out or blowing a shoulder out. So then I worked with Jeff later. Yeah. And then
that was one of my coaches too.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this before, but like you are the reason I actually went with him, because my wife was like, "Hey, KyLee, this girl from high school that I know." Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah, it was great. It was a really great experience. Yeah. I worked with them through 2 shows, and then I started working with it was a friend. My husband knew him, but he's a little bit older. He grew up bodybuilding, and I think he saw a lot of potential in me, and he said, "I want to coach you." And so Dan Thompson took me under his wing, and I've been training with him still to this day. It's probably been 5 years, but I did bounce around with other like competition coaches, but I still interwove some training with him just because I loved to lift in person with him.
He's a big dude, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was gonna say, I think I can see, I can see him in some of your Instagram posts.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's definitely helped me push through some thresholds in regards to ceilings.
I would say whenever you're with him in your Instagram posts, that's when you're lifting the most weight.
Oh yeah, it probably has the fact that I know he can probably lift the weight off my head makes me feel more
You feel safe. You feel safe.
I feel a lot safer when I'm benching, my 80-pound dumbbells, that I know that he'll actually be able to spot me.
Yeah. Not gonna let him fall on you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then I worked with Luis Pena for a few shows, and then Anthony Chacon. So 12. Okay. Yeah. So I've had about 4 or 5 coaches.
Sweet.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And do you feel like each time you've worked with somebody different, like, is there a different approach? Like, do you learn different things? Like, or, what's been your overall experience?
Yeah, I would say bodybuilding approach is very similar.
Right. There's not a whole lot of, like, varying opinions there, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's pretty...
Like, there's many ways to skin a cat,
Right.
It's pretty common. It's like you want to start in a place where you're in a decent amount of calorie intake, and then we slowly pull calories and slowly increase cardio, slowly increase, intensity of training. And
that's the bodybuilding blueprint.
Yeah, that's just the blueprint. And the only thing that kind of varies is whether like the week in the show, stage prep, I would say is the most unique to coach. And then also like coaching styles in regards to like motivators or, like cheerleaders or somebody who's like not in your face, but like kind of like push you like differently. I'm more of like a cheerleader approach, because that's how I am as a coach. I love to like hype people up and really encourage them and leave a good energy. just because that's how I receive it. Not everybody receives that, like receives coaching the same way, but I believe if you have a positive feeling left, like in any situation, playing a sport, lifting, energy will follow, right? And so that's what I believe. But yeah, I would say it's pretty similar, but every coach is different in like fine-tuning areas.
Cool.
What about you?
Very different, because it's been very different approaches.
Yeah.
I mean, like with Jeff, it was bodybuilding, right? With one of my other coaches, Jad Alame, he was a powerlifting coach, which powerlifting is like very intense and stuff, right? And then now working with Jeff, like Jeff is a lifestyle coach.
Okay.
I was working towards like a powerlifting competition again in November. Ultimately, though, just recently, like within the last week or two, I have decided not to do that anymore. The initial reason why is just because of injury. Like my left elbow, I've had tendonitis in my left elbow for a while, and I just haven't been able to really bench hard.
Yeah.
And so I knew going into that competition, like I wasn't going to be able to touch my previous PR, and like I don't want to do it. I don't want to just show up just to show up, like I want to show up to push myself and beat myself. So anyways, ultimately have kind of changed directions there. So more of a lifestyle now, just healthy lifestyle, implementing more cardio.
What do you do for cardio?
So recently, been doing trail runs.
Cool.
Every Wednesday is like a zone 2 cardio day. I have not been staying in zone 2. Full transparency. I feel like I'm huffing and puffing the whole time, but
kind of a butt kicker.
It is. It's fun. I love it. And so, I don't know. I don't really know where I'm headed, but it's definitely more of like, I'm sure you've heard like the whole hybrid athlete craze,
I have an athlete who's like, I want to be everything.
Yep,
I want to jump high. I want to have great flexibility. I want to be strong as heck.
Yep. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not going too crazy with it. I'm like, I want to run far and lift heavy. That's kind of like where I'm at. Like maybe, I don't know. I think about like ultra marathons and stuff a lot. I'm like, would love to weigh like 195 to 205 and run 100-mile races. You know what I'm saying?
Dude.
Like there's a lot of people who do it now, but it just seems like something that is just so unattainable, and for the longest time, people thought that cardio hindered your gains, right? Like people thought that you can't lift heavy and run far. And let's dig into that just a little bit. What time is it? We got 10 minutes left.
Oh gosh.
So
I think you can do both.
Yeah.
But when you're intensely running like that, the energy drops, I would say. I mean, I personally haven't done it, but if you look at your Olympians, your long distance runners versus like your sprinters.
For sure.
Like, I feel like there is a difference, but also depends on your goals and if you're fueling your body accordingly.
Okay. So I think you're 100% correct. I'm going to show you one example.
Okay.
So Nick Bear, have you heard that name?
Oh, dang.
So Nick Bear is he's not the one that created like the hybrid athlete.
Yeah.
But he's definitely, I would say, one of the biggest influencers of it today.
For sure.
Like the dude weighs 200 plus pounds and runs. He's ran the Leadville 100. He's ran the Rocky Raccoon, which is 100 miles. Like the dude's insane. And I will say this, like he's a genetic freak. Like I really do believe that. But also I feel like he's like pushing the limits, right?
Yeah.
And he runs every morning. I think he lifts weights 4 to 5 times a week.
Wow.
And so how sustainable is this for the everyday person?
What's his recovery regimen like?
He has a sauna, and I don't think he has an ice bath, actually. It's mostly sauna. I'm sure he does a lot of like mobility and stretching.
Beds?
You know what? He claims to not be, and he's posted blood work. And so I'm like, I don't know.
I'm curious because I feel like most human beings hit burnout and your body, like mind and body, at some point.
It's funny you bring it up because he has been accused of that over and over and over again.
I mean, maybe he's a super freak. I don't know.
And I think he is. I think he is a super freak. But yeah, who knows? So I mean, again, for the everyday person, running, I literally think he runs 7 days a week.
That's crazy.
And he's running right now. Right now, he's running 8 miles almost every single day.
So that's all he does.
Well, he wakes up.
Exercises all day.
Yeah. Well, and he runs a business. BPN, Bear Performance Nutrition. It's a supplement company.
Cool.
Honestly, one of my favorites. Like, I love their products and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, he wakes up at 4:30, runs 8 miles. Then he goes to work, runs the business for a while, and then he lifts in the afternoon.
Good for him. That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, it's like everyday person, probably not realistic.
He's probably had to go through the ringer to get to that point.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
You definitely have to do your reps to get to that disciplinary.
Yeah, and it's a priority. That's one of the other things I wanted to touch on. We're running low on time because we only got this room for 6 more minutes or 7 more minutes. But it's like, that's one of the other things I wanted to touch on today was just like, how important is your health to you? Like, really, like, whoever's listening to this, ask yourself this question. How important is your health to you? And if you say it's important, I want you to reflect and realize, like, what have I done to show that it's important to me?
What are your daily actions looking like?
Correct. Because I feel like there will always be an excuse.
Yes.
Okay, there will always be an excuse. And I will guarantee you, people look at you and I, KyLee, and think, well, that's what they do for a living. And I'm like, well, no, I don't lift for a living. Like, I don't eat healthy for a living. Like, I do that because I know it's important. Like, that's a priority of mine.
Especially with a family.
Right. Right.
And, working and...
Well, that's the thing. Like, we have our own businesses.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you can say what you want. Like, yeah, it is a coaching business. Like, what we help people do is kind of like what we do on a daily basis.
Yeah.
And that doesn't, anyways. So I'm like...
That's what we're passionate about.
Exactly.
And we want to... I don't know. We've seen from other mentors and other people who have been great examples to us on the importance of nourishing our bodies and exercising. And we have come to know that for ourselves and have seen that impact in our lives.
Yeah.
And so now we're so passionate about it that we now want to teach others to be able to get to that point. Because exercise and nourishing our body is like the greatest gift that we could give ourselves.
Yeah. And
it's one of the hardest.
Yep.
But those disciplinary muscles that you create on that journey reflects in every area of your life. And it's so worth it.
100%. Well said. Well said. Yeah. So I guess that's just, once again, guys, if this is something that you view as important, identify where it is on your priority list. Because once again, it's like, if it's not towards the top of your priority list, like, I'll give you my priority list. I think we've done this before, but it's God, my wife, my kids. Honestly, I'm like work, my career, and health. Like, those are my top 5.
Absolutely.
And I truly don't think there's much more room for priorities outside of that. If fitness and health is outside of your top 5 priorities, I'm guessing you're probably not as committed as you may think you are or want to be. Yeah. So I
think one thing that's really helpful is if you're a calendar person, and when you're creating your calendar for the week, what are the top things that you put in first?
Yeah.
And it's usually work, right? Yep. That's non-negotiable.
Yep.
Where does fitness go? Yep. And how are you going to make that a priority? So when you're creating your calendar for the week, let that be first before, anything else goes into the calendar.
Yeah.
And figure out how to make it happen.
And that's the other part of it too, is it's like, well, the only time I can work out is at 4:35. I'm like, I'm not patting myself on the back here, guys, but I did that for, 5+ years. Like, waking up at 4:30 a.m. to get to the gym by 5 and work out before work. Like, it's a matter of, what is a priority to you. So anyways, anything else, KyLee? Anything else? Like anything?
No, I really like the topics today. I think it's really important to reflect on what's important to you in regards to your health. And it doesn't matter where you are, where you're going, or what stage you are in life. And it may look a little different depending on where you're at, like motherhood or career or different things like that. But you just have to figure out that priority and plan accordingly in your life.
Yeah. I love it. Well, guys, thanks for listening.
That's a wrap, folks.
This went about twice as long as I thought it would today.
We go a full hour.
But you know what? No, it's 40 minutes.
Okay.
But yeah, honestly, one of my favorites thus far.
Me too.
So appreciate you, KyLee, always for being
having
here. Appreciate your opinion and your knowledge, your wisdom. Guys, that's it for today. We will catch you in the next one.
Peace.